أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. As the Ramadan is approaching, inshallah we are going to be doing some series of video lessons to help us prepare for this sacred month, inshallah. As we all know, fasting during the month of Ramadan is one of the pillars of Islam, so it's very crucial that we observe it properly and understand the rules, all the rules surrounding it, irrespective of your age, your knowledge level. It is very important that we understand and learn these facts. Now, this series is going to be knowledge based. That is, we are going to be having some very interesting discussions, and we are going to learn a lot on how to observe this blessed month to the best of our ability. But inshallah, in this video, we are going to be answering two main questions. The first question is who must fast, and the second one is who is exempt or excused from fasting. Who must fast? Anybody who is considered a mukallaf must fast. Now, who is a mukallaf? A mukallaf is simply means, when you say mukallaf in Arabic language, it means anybody who is burdened with something, or anybody who has the responsibility to do something. But when we look at this word, a mukallaf in Shariatul Islamiyya, a mukallaf means someone who has reached puberty. That's number one. Someone who is sound mentally, and someone who has received the message of Islam, or who has heard the message of Islam. These people are all considered mukallaf. So if you fall under these categories, then you are considered a mukallaf. Therefore, you are expected to fast during the month of Ramadan to the best of your ability. Now, the second question we are going to be answering is who is exempt or excused from fasting. Now, we have several groups of individuals or categories of people who are excused from fasting, but inshallah, in this video we are going to be looking at only two categories, and in the other videos, inshallah, we are going to be discussing the rest of the categories of people who are considered exempt or who are excused from fasting. Now, the first category of people who are exempt or excused from fasting is a woman going through her menstrual period or her postpartum bleeding period. That is, after a woman gives birth, she goes through this period that lasts from 2 to 6 weeks, depending on who. So when she's going through this period, she is not allowed to fast or perform any kind of, prayers or anything of that sort. She is though allowed to perform zikr orally, la ilaha illallah, subhanallah, but she's not allowed to fast or perform her salat. Now, even if she feels like she is strong enough, she's okay, she doesn't want to miss anything in Ramadan, may Allah increase her iman, but even if she does fast, it will not be accepted from her. So she must not fast when she's going through this period, whether she's menstruating or whether she's going through her postpartum bleeding period. She's not allowed to fast. Now, the second category is the sick, right? When you're sick, you are not allowed to fast, but there are some conditions and there are some difference of opinions in the madhahibs, right? So according to the Shi'atul Imamiyya, they have made the opinion that when you're sick, you should not fast at all. That is, when you feel sick, or when you feel like you are about to fall sick, or when you're fasting and then you feel like continuing the fasting is gonna worsen your condition, make you feel worse, or it's gonna prolong your recovery period, you should not fast at all. That is, if you're already fasting, then you should break your fast. So according to the Shi'atul Imamiyya, when you continue the fasting, your fasting will not be accepted from you at all. That is, even if you feel like you're about to fall sick, you're about to fall seriously sick, you should break your fast. Or if you are yet to fast, you should not fast at all, right? Until you feel 100%. So that is the opinion of the Imamiyya. Now, for the rest of the four schools of thought, they have all agreed that when you're sick, you have the choice or the option to continue with the fasting if you're already fasting and then you feel sick. You can continue with the fasting, or you can decide to break your fast. So you have that two options, to continue or to break your fast when you feel sick during that period that you're fasting, or when you feel sick before you eat your sahur and then start your fasting. You feel like you're very sick and your condition is gonna get worse. You have the option to either continue with the fasting or to not fast. But the condition is that if you do decide to continue with the fasting, then it should be that continuing with the fasting will not cause you any kind of harm, right? It will not make you, it will not harm you in any way, cause some breakdown of some organ in your system, put you in a critical situation or condition. If you are very sure that continuing with the fasting will not cause any sort of harm to you, then you are allowed to continue with the fasting or to not continue. But if you know, or you've been advised by a doctor that when you continue with the fasting, it's going to cause a breakdown of something in your system, some organ, or worsen your situation and put you in a very critical condition, then it's a must that you break your fast. Because even if you continue knowing very well that this is what could happen, or this is what might happen if I do continue with the fasting, you still do it, your fasting will not be accepted. So that is the opinion of the rest of the four schools of thought. But inshallah, in the next video we are going to be talking about other groups of people who are exempt or excused from fasting, and of course there are other very interesting topics or things that we're going to be discussing around fasting during the month of Ramadan. So please do stay tuned, and of course share this video, and inshallah, as usual, barakallahu li wa lakum, and I will see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In today's lesson, inshallah, we are going to be looking at two other categories of people who are exempt from fasting. The first is the pregnant and breastfeeding woman, and then the second one is a traveler. So for a pregnant woman, or for a woman breastfeeding her child, she has the option to either fast or not to fast. Now, if she decides not to fast, all she needs to do is to make up for it after the month of Ramadan. Whether or not there is an atonement for the missing days, there are differences in opinion with regards to that. Some scholars say if she does not fast because of herself, because she fears that something might happen to her, or there's some kind of a risk involved in her fasting, then she has to make up for it after the month of Ramadan, and at the same time she has to feed the poor and the needy during those days that she missed the fasting. Other scholars say that the risk has to be on both the child and then herself, and then if it's on both the child and then herself, then that is when she must make up for it after the month of Ramadan. At the same time, she has to feed the poor and the needy, which is in a form of kafara, that is atonement for the missing days. So the best advice for a pregnant woman or a woman breastfeeding her child who misses some days of fasting during the month of Ramadan is she should do her best to feed the poor and the needy, even though some scholars say that she is not required to make up for the missing days in a form of atonement, which is feeding the poor and the needy during those days. She should still do it, because feeding somebody during the month of Ramadan is in and itself a sadaqah. So even though she might not be necessarily required to do so, but the advice is she should do it if she misses those days. And of course, she should make it a point to make up for the missing days as soon as she can after the month of Ramadan. Now the second is a traveler. A traveler is allowed to skip fasting under the same condition that permits qasr salat, right? Qasr salat meaning shortening of your salat. For instance, when you're traveling, you can shorten your salat. You pray zuhur instead of 4 raka'at, you pray 2 raka'at for zuhur, asr, and then isha. You can shorten them. Instead of 4, you pray them 2 raka'ats each. But for Maghrib, of course, you're going to pray the same way, which is 3 rak'ats, right? So if you're going to skip fasting, the condition has to be the same condition that permits qasr salat. So those are the two conditions. You have to be a traveler. Once you decide to travel, you are allowed to skip your fasting, but it has to be under the same condition that permits qasr salat, meaning the distance has to be considerable. Of course, there are differences in opinion regarding how far the distance should be, but basically once you pack your luggage and then decide to leave home and then embark on a journey, you are considered a traveler. So when that happens, you have the option to either fast or to not fast, but it should be that you've left home before Fajr, right? It should be that you've left home before the time for Suhoor or the time for the Fajr prayers. So that's the only time you are given the permission to either continue with your fasting or to not fast at all. So the first category in today's video are people who go through an extreme level of thirst or hunger. So there are some type of diseases that cause people to always feel hungry or thirst, which is a very extreme level of thirst and hunger. And then the second category is people who are extremely old, like very, very old and weak. So those are the two categories that we're going to be discussing today in this video, inshallah. So anyone going through an extreme level of hunger or thirst must not fast. And this is agreed upon by all the four schools of thoughts without any atonement. That is, they do not have to feed the less privileged as a form of atonement for those missing days or missing out the whole Ramadan, right? So, but they must not fast if they have a condition that makes them feel very, very hungry and very thirsty every time. So this is considered illness, right? So they should not fast, but if they do get better, that is, if their condition become better after the month of Ramadan, then they must make up for it. Even though according to the Imamiyah, they have to feed the less privileged in a form of atonement for not being able to fast because of their extreme conditions. But as for the very old, who are very weak, who are perhaps unable to fast, and even if they fast, it's going to be extremely difficult for them. They have the option to either fast or not to fast, but they have to feed the poor and the needy in a form of kafara during the month of Ramadan. So they either fast or they decide not to fast. If they decide not to fast, then they will feed the poor and the needy during those missing days. May Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala accept from us. And to all the Muslims around the world, Ramadan Mubarak, and may Allah bless you all. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Quick announcement, inshallah, in this Ramadan, in this blessed month, I'm starting my tafsir, the tafsir of the Quran. So please do look out for my videos of my tafsir, inshallah, in this blessed month. And I encourage you all to please join me and to please do share and follow my videos, and whatever questions that you have, please do not hesitate to leave them in the comment down below, and inshallah I'll do my best to either reply to your comments and questions in the comment section, or if the need be, I might even make a whole video answering your questions. May Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.